Hurrah! We are back. Thank you all so much. Emily, highlight from Louise Miller's session, please.
Just how calm that woman is. So calm. Thank you very much to Louise for that. It's all about just doing on your own terms and not be worrying about if you want to take things slowly and actually not forgiving yourself if you're a fast worker too. I really, really enjoyed that.
I had a virtual cuppa with Louise once, and literally this Alan became this Alan, and not in a down way, but in a relaxed way. And I said to Louise, I don't think anyone's ever done this to me before. So, Louise does have that ability. Highlight from Vanda's no particular highlight, actually, Vanda. It was just about the amount of people sharing that the ice breaking is difficult. They're not sure what to talk about is difficult. And that's why we put Vanda at the beginning of the day to talk about that confidence to connect in a day all about connecting. Right, let's start. We're not going to apologize for the kazoo. We want that earworm in your head. But right now we've got someone, I don't know how to explain this. We have met this person in real life now, and we've met face to face, and we stood there, and it was great. We've had a hug. I think that's the differentiator. We met them on Instagram around lockdown starting. We got chatting on Instagram. And basically, this person, let's be honest, has become a friend. Yeah, is that fair to say? In a circle stuff. And she had some particular challenges. She started her business, an in-person business, and lockdown hit. And she took all of her business online and has grown her business. And she's here today to share her digital adventure with us all.
And I don't think she realizes how incredible she is.
Well, on like many levels,
on so many levels.
We're already eating into her time. So let's get Laurie on board.
Hi, Laurie.
Hello.
Laurie.
You can hear me.
So glad. Yes, we can hear you. We're so glad to have you.
Ongoing tech issues. We can hear you.
What an introduction. Oh, my word. Thank you so much. How exciting. Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here. Wonderful.
Right. Yeah. In that case, we are going to depart. We're going to go into the green room, yellow room.
And would you like your presentation up now, Laurie?
Yes, please.
Right. We're going to disappear. I'm going to bring it in. Enjoy, everyone, and we'll be back at the end. Thank you, Laurie.
Pleasure. Hello, everyone. Yes, so I'm delighted to be here to talk about my digital adventure. And who'd have thought? Because I had no idea that I would be having to learn all this new stuff. I'd been previously to having the Mindful Eating Clinic. I'd been doing corporate training and coaching and all very much in real life. And I did nothing online at all. I might have had the occasional online meeting, but really nothing else at all. And then this adventure started. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm just going to talk you through some of the things that I did. Now, you're probably doing lots of them already. And if you've been in the digital circus for a while, for sure you will be. But Alan and Emily very kindly thought that it might be helpful just to see some of the things that I done and for me to share my adventure with you. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I can see the chat. So if you want to put anything in there, just to say hello, because at the moment, I don't know if there's anybody there. Is there anybody out there at all? So that would be really nice. Oh, there we go. Philip Duffett. Thank you. What an adventure. So I'm wondering whether I'm actually not seeing the right chat. Private chat. Probably need to see studio chat. I don't know. I don't know whether I can't see it.
Click anyway, comments. Laurie, click comments.
Comments. There we go. Oh, look at them all saying hello. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Right. I'm going to get going. Thank you. Okay, so let me just get this going. There we go. Okay, so it has been one of these, quite a roller coaster, but incredibly fun. And all these people say, oh, you're all here. It's wonderful. Honestly, that has been the most amazing part of it, meeting all these people. Really, that has been absolutely amazing. And for someone who is a total full-on 100% off the scale extrovert, to not be in contact with people would have been awful. So thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm waving to all of you. Thank you. So it did start with lockdown. My corporate training stopped, and the work that I had been doing a little bit face-to-face, if I'm honest, not that much actually, but I was just thinking about it. And could I actually make a proper business out of this whole mindful eating thing which many of you might know came out of my own experience, my own disordered eating history, which went on and off for 40 years. Yes. And I managed to get myself out the other side of it and thought, I'm not going to stay quiet about this. I'm going to try and help other people to not have the life that I had with food, which was an unhappy life with food. I mean, not all the time, but it was there like a constant narrative. I mean, I had successful business. I had 2 children that are still standing up. So I did something right. So that's good. You know, but it was something that I really felt that I could make a business of. And lockdown actually did me a favor. Now was the time to take this passion and try and turn it into an online business in an area where really this kind of coaching therapy had been done face-to-face, had really only been done face-to-face. It wasn't an online business at all. And so I really started with nothing in terms of really didn't have a client base at all. And I had no digital knowledge. So what did I do first? I decided to start an Instagram account. I started posting pictures of food, and it was fun. And I started posting snippets of coaching sort of tips, things that had helped me, things that I had learned about through reading. And as I was doing my training, things that I was learning, and people started to engage. And I thought, wow, yeah, there is actually a business here. And I thought, oh, I'll try a dedicated Facebook page, because not really, I suppose, from a business perspective to start with, but really because I knew that possibly my friends on Facebook didn't want to be looking at pictures of what I was eating, you know, 2 or 3 times a day. And I thought, let's do a dedicated page and see how much traction I can get from that. So that's what I did next. And then, this was the moment. They'll say it wasn't, but it flipping well was. In June, July 2020, I found Yellow Tuxedo on Instagram and I followed, and Alan left me a message to thank me for following. And ever since then, I have always done that. So where people don't have a private account, I send them a little message to thank them for following and hope that it's going to be interesting for them. And if they've got any questions, they want to know more, to just get in touch with me, not in a salesy way, but in a hello, I'm here to help way. And honestly, that's what did it for me. So I followed, I joined and learned so much. And so from that, I realized, might be helpful if I have a website. Never done that before. Eek. Okay. So I went on to Wix, which was actually pretty straightforward. But my goodness, I was hooked on it, actually. And I remember having 2 weeks of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to get this thing finished and just tweaking it, and absolutely loved it. So that was really, really fun. And of course, I was starting to learn a little bit more about things like Google keywords to try and optimize it as much as possible so that people found it. And then on the website, I then started a blog, and I'd already decided that I was going to have 3 themes of think, eat, and live. You think differently, you eat differently, and then you live differently. And so on my blog, if you go on after this to have a look, there are different sections, and it was about food, it was also about nutrition, about mindset. And I just basically I just emptied my head and just put it all out there, because that was all I had, really. But what it's done is, of course, through this journey, it's actually enabled me to have all this macro content, which I now refer to in my newsletter, stuff that I wrote 3 years ago, just keep repurposing, and it's just brilliant. So it takes a lot less time. And I gradually, that's me with a yes, quite face on, gradually started to understand the numbers, particularly around the website. On my IG account, it might be under my name, Lou. So if you put Laurie Weber, oh, thanks, Alan, you're a star. So to try and understand, and Emily helped me loads on this, where the traffic was coming from and where they were going on my site, how long they were staying, and actually, perhaps more importantly, why they were leaving if they weren't staying for very long. And then looking at at that journey, you know, the previous Google Analytics, which I prefer. I'm sorry, but I just do. The one where you could see the behavior flow, that was really great. But now it's slightly different, but you do have all those analytics, and there's a really good recording of all of that in the members area of the digital Circus, where you can actually understand more about that. But that was so helpful. So I changed a few things on those pages and made sure that my calls to action were there. And I tried to just got myself much more in the mindset of an online digital customer and trying to make it as easy as possible. I am verbose at the best of times, so tried to cut down the copy so it was more punchy and more immediate for people. And I started a YouTube channel. Now, I'm not known for my shy and retiring nature, and I have a performance background, so I've been acting and singing for, well, God, since I was about 12. So actually going on video was not a massive challenge for me in one respect, but getting on and talking about something that I was, you know, I hadn't lived in that world for that long, wasn't that easy for me. But I just took a deep breath, and I just, you know, I'm of a certain age, and I thought, right, this is about me. This is what people are connecting with. This is what people are going to receive when they work with me. Forget about how you come across. Forget about how good, how bad, how polished. Just do it. Just talk to people. And I use the old Terry Wogan trick. I always remember, those of you that are old enough to remember Terry Wogan in the morning when you're doing the school run, him saying, imagine you've only got one watcher or one listener. He said, you've only got one listener, and that's how you're talking. And I try and keep that in mind when I'm doing that. And I really haven't put very much effort into it. I've got about 115 subscribers now, and it might be my new focus actually to try and get those subscribers up. Anyway, how did I start that? Because time is ticking on. Get on with it, Laurie. I just started talking on the kinds of topics that were coming up, the kind of questions that my clients asked. That's where I started, as if I was just running a one-way coaching session. So I did that. And then I thought, oh, actually, running a business, yes, I probably should have a business profile. So I did the LinkedIn profile, and I try to have a slightly different work focus. That's my next thing actually to start doing, to try and target the areas where I show up in a slightly different way, and perhaps have more practical mindful eating things around how that fits in with working life, for example. And all the time trying to comment, trying to follow, and trying to make remarks on other people's posts, because I have picked up followers and interest in my work from what I say on someone else's post, which probably is obvious to many of you, but when I first started, it wasn't obvious at all. I thought I had to put in all the effort to content create, and in fact, that Be Social is just so powerful. And then, particularly through working with Emily, because I had some great one-to-ones with her, I started a Google My Business entry. I mean, this now runs through Maps, but it's the same thing, really. And that enabled me to get reviews from people and to have somewhere to go, and also to bring in some local business once lockdown lifted and I was able to see some people face to face. In reality, I see very few people face to face, because even local people like to see me on Zoom. It's easier for them. And it also means I can record the session and then I send it to them afterwards, which is all part of that sort of after digital online experience service. This is the game changer. And it was really lovely listening to Paul earlier talk about podcasting. And if you missed it, do watch it on catch up. I started a podcast, and all I did to start with was I extracted the video in, I have to say, a very amateur way, because I am not techie at all. Ask Alan. I was having a flipping meltdown earlier about where the PowerPoint size needed to be and all of that. So, but I just used a very basic piece of kit, and I extracted the audio and made those into podcasts. And so I started off with just the dedicated videos. Then I did dedicated solo podcasts, which are just brain dumps. But sometimes I took one of my blogs and I delivered it in a conversational way. So I was basically reading it, but made it sound like I was just chatting. Again, macro content. Then I started inviting guests, which of course increased the listening because you've got double audience. And I mean, it's amazing. I've had almost 34,000 downloads of 50 plus episodes worldwide. So I have listeners in America and Australia and some in Europe, which is still pretty amazing. And I don't really know quite how it's happened. I have tags in everything. I use words that I know are really, really strong keyword searches. So maybe through listening to this, you might, well, how many do I need? I need another 100 downloads to get me up to 34,000. So that would be lovely, wouldn't it, people? And then I started regular newsletters. There's someone you know who, I don't know whether he has told you, but he has a certificate in MailerLite. And so I learned from Alan how to do MailerLite, never done anything like that before. And so I now do a weekly mindful bite, lot of repurposing, excuse me, a huge amount of repurposing goes on and things that I pick up. And I never put pressure on myself. In fact, those open rates have gone up a little bit more and click rates. So I'm really, really thrilled with that because that's building my community. I try and keep the selling stuff to a minimum because I just want to put information out there and help and educate. And a lot of my newsletter readers will never be clients, but they like the nutrition stuff. They like the recipes. And I think they seem to like to be part of the community. People, thank you so much for all your positive comments and congratulation messages. That's just lovely. Thank you very much. So I did that. And now, as I said, it's like I run a secondhand shop. Now, that's not to say that I don't write new stuff. I do. But it's a bit like, I remember going to see Victoria Wood once. And I remember her saying something like, I make no apology if you've heard this joke before. I'm going to tell it again because it's one of the best jokes I've ever heard. And it's kind of that, isn't it? It's, something that you wrote 3 years ago or even longer. If it's good quality stuff, you've got a new audience probably over the last 6 months or even 6 days. It's fine. So I sort of got over that whole hurdle about having to be new and reinvent myself every time. And I repurpose, or I might see something or read a book and I might actually think, oh, I did a blog on that, and I'll tie it in and I'll say, I was listening to this. This is amazing stuff. And if you want to read my take on it, I wrote this a year ago. Isn't it interesting how these things start from little nuggets and grow out, Oh, and some people are mentioning my breakfast book. How nice, you see. Instant marketing. If you come on Digital Circus Live, thank you. You're very, very kind. And then all the time in the background, I was improving my knowledge. So I got my master practitioner diploma. I retrained in neuro-linguistic programming with the amazing Vanda Varga. If you have the slightest inclination to do some NLP for your own development and to help your customers, clients, train with Vanda because she is fabulous. And all of that sort of helped me create my online product. So that was part of my digital growth, lots of networking. So where am I now? The results: over 60 clients, word of mouth networking, 28%. And that, of course, as we all know, networking is absolutely fabulous, takes a fair amount of effort. But if you look at the ones that don't take as much effort, really, podcast, 24% of my client base, Google search, 19%, Instagram, 12%, other 10, Facebook, 7. And so those numbers speak for themselves, actually, don't they? About how putting the effort into this digital presence, this digital work, starts to reap rewards. And it's now the two main generators are absolutely the Google search, where people, I think, have their location showing. So they will then find me because I'm local to them primarily, but also the podcast. I had a new client 3 weeks ago from Melbourne who'd found me on the podcast. So just do it, put your Nike trainers on and just do it, because it's absolutely worth it. So there we are. I thought I had a thank you at the end of it slide, because press escape to exit isn't very sexy, but there we are. So thank you so much. And I hope that that's been interesting. Thank you for your wonderful comments down there. I hope there's a way to capture those maybe later, Alan. That would be really good. So,
of course, we can. Laurie, I hope you may, based on these comments, I hope you might start to realize how amazing it is what you do. And you are, and I know you and I have similar levels of confidence, but even then the reminder is I don't know what to say. I'm blown away by the comments about you, but it's
so nice. Thank you.
Sorry.
I mean, the one thing that I always take from this, especially when I look at you, Laurie, is that these things do take work. Okay, there's no magic wand to get things on. Someone's actually asked in the comment, how much time do you spend this per week? But when you're setting this up for long-term growth, it does take a little bit of work. But you've been so smart in what you've done there, and you absolutely the repurposing of your content, brilliant ideas. Thinking about other channels in which you can share that content. You've got blogs, you've got podcasts, you've got video content, and actually all of those things, going back to your stats there of where your business comes from, really does show that we as humans always go towards LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and worry about the social media stuff. And actually we worry a lot less about it, and just thinking about what we can do to really sort of share that online presence to a wider extent. And you do that so well. And you have implemented every last suggestion we've given you over the last couple of years. You have done the work, and you have yourself to thank for that. You have done the work, and it's paying dividends now. So
thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, thank you. I don't actually spend, so in answer to that question just quickly
from
popped
Kathy,
up, but
yeah.
Kathy, hello Kathy, my favorite zebra, hello. But in answer to your question, actually not that long. I mean, it's a bit like practicing for things. So if I'm on stage, I think, where are my time windows? If I'm on the train, I'll be on Canva and I'll think, I'll just set up a few Instagram posts. I take photos all the time. So I've always got a meal that I can put up, and I can just write a few things about why it's good to have at a certain time of day, and I will capture things. So I will use my notes, and if a thought comes into my head, it's there. And then I just whack it out there, whenever I've got a moment. I'm not very structured. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm not very structured. So it's very knee-jerk, spontaneous, spur of the moment stuff. I'm not very good at planning. I do it when the thought comes into my head, because then that passion is behind it, and all the energy of talking off the cuff, which is the real me, because I didn't prep, apart from the slides, I didn't prep at all what I was going to say today. At all, probably should, but so that's how I tend to work. But honestly, the biggest helpful thing that Alan and Emily ever said to me was repurposing macro content, and I cannot stress that enough. It was a real changing moment for me. I used to put so much pressure on myself that I had to come up with something new all the time. Do you know what? I go back right down the bottom of my feed, the bottom third of my Instagram feed, and I repurpose. Nobody goes down to the bottom. Shock horror. Nobody cares down there. I just whack it out again. And because it's a good message. So in the words of the ever amazing late great Victoria Wood, if it's good, people don't mind how many times they hear it.
It is true.
And you never know who's going to see it.
So we've got too much going on. You're right, Emily. Apologies. Go. Sorry.
Yes. I need to go.
The comments are going crazy, right? So make sure you go
it's
and have
wonderful. Thank you.
There's questions, there's lectures. Kathy replied to your comment. Jodie, I've got to flash this up. Jodie said, don't grimace when LinkedIn is mentioned. I try, Jodie. I try not to, but you know how I feel.
And actually, Alan, can I just pick up very, very quickly? James, how valuable has it been to be niche? Absolutely. Absolutely right to be niche. I don't worry really about alienating because it's the niche group that I'm there to help.
Yeah.
And actually, my group is quite broad. It's not just about eating disorders per se. And if I did that when I had my other business, when I was corporate training, I could have gone into sales. I could have gone into all sorts of things. I just did presentation and communication. That's it. And I did it for 25 years. Yeah. So I think having a niche and doing it well, for me, that's what's always worked better. And that's the way I'll stick.
One thing I will take away from that comment, and then one in terms of scheduling as well, is that it matters very little at all. If you're a niching type person and it works for you, niche away. If you're more of a generalist and you want to be a generalist, you don't have to niche. If you're more the type of person, this is what I got from Louise's session half an hour ago. If you're one of those people who needs the security of scheduling to an inch of its life for the next 6 months, that is okay. But however, Laurie, you're much like us.
I'm just talking about how I do it. That's right.
Absolutely. But we're much in the moment with things. And I will happily post off the cuff because it's in my head. And again, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's absolutely fine. But I mean, on the need, very aware of the time.
That's right.
All right,
and if you reuse something, you might be putting on a slightly different spin on that particular day anyway. But I think for my thing, the whole niching thing, I know I have to go.
No, you're right. Keep going.
I think the whole niching thing is that because of the area that I'm in, James, and anyone else who's thinking this question, it's very important that I am as good and as strong an expert as I can be in what I do. That's how I feel. Not saying other people aren't expert if they're broad, but for me, it feels like I need to focus on those areas that I work in so that my clients are confident that I have the depth of knowledge that I need in order to really, really help them and really make a difference to them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Laura. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I had to do one thing before we run off to more workshops. There was a bit of a conversation about Google not liking repurposing. We're not talking about plagiarism. We're not talking about duplication. What we're talking about is if you have a blog or you have a YouTube video or some kind of macro content, blog, podcast, video, it's okay to reshare it out on the socials. It's okay to take the blog, cut some text out of it and make a social post out of it. When we're talking about repurposing and resharing in Yellow Tuxedo world, that's what we're talking about, okay? Right, next up, we are back. Quick loo break, over to the workshops. We like it fast at the Digital Circus Live. We've got 3-time workshop host and holds the record for most times mentioned in testimonials. We have Adam Carley, but we couldn't not have him back, right? So Adam's cut back, cost-effective ways to impact audiences and gain more business. And then we have Anna Blimmin Bravington with an amazing session called Go Home Content You're Drunk. And it's all about ensuring you're jargon free and you get your messaging right when you're creating content to connect with your audience. So head off to the workshop sessions, go and pick Anna or Adam. Don't forget the other one you get on replay. Hopefully you've already all gone. We're about to stop this. Thank you, Laurie. You're amazing. Go and read the love for you in the chat. It will be worth it.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.